Thank you for joining us to learn about actionable data on Edcite Schools. So let's start at the highest level. What do reports look like for an administrator? So on Edcite Schools, we categorize our reports based on the type of information you're going to see. You'll notice on this page, we've got single assignment reports, standard-based reports, individual student-based reports, growth reports, and then this great category of special reports. But I think it's helpful to start by looking at some of these single assignment reports and delving into that high level view your administrators get into any common assessment that you are pushing out across your campus, multiple campuses, or just a couple teachers giving an assessment on their own. My favorite to start with is the summary report because it gives you that high level view and gives you so many options to drill down and summarize your data in different ways. So I've got the option to look at data by overall, by individual question, and by individual standard. And I'm able to view that data in terms of percent or points. I like to look at things in terms of percent, and let's look at a question by question analysis. The other thing that's awesome is that I can choose how I want to digest this information. So if I were looking at this as a teacher, I'm probably going to spend a lot of my time in that student and class level data. If I'm a building administrator, I'm going to spend a lot of time at that class level data, looking at individual classes, looking at the averages for my school versus the averages for everyone in the district who took that. I'm going to be interested in looking at data broken down by teacher. And then if I'm a district administrator looking at multiple schools, I'm going to want to see data summarized at the school level. In addition to that, to those filters, you also have the option to drill down further to just show me particular student groups, how we're doing. Just show me data for these 3 schools, or just show me data for these 2 out of 4 science classes that I'm specifically supporting. So you've got the option to really control what you see. And that applies to all of the reports. So whether we're looking at this summary report, whether we're looking at what we call our dynamic report, which allows you just to see that high level view by class, by teacher, or by school. And it's great for visual understanding. I can just hover over something and it's going to update the pie chart. For the performance bands, you've got full control over what those bands are, easily adding a performance band, customizing the numbers or colors to align with what your team uses. Item analysis is great because I get to start going beyond just my students really struggled with question 2. And we get to start working with teams and teachers to start going into the particular misconceptions that are throwing students off and directly addressing those. So if I know that answer choice A is associated with a particular misconception, I can pull up that group of students that selected A, and I can create an intervention group where I can send them targeted content and progress monitor. Performance band is also just a quick highlight. It's nice to be able to see counts by performance band and just instead of just looking at that average. And again, I'm able to digest that information however I choose. Now switching into a teacher reports hub. I just want to remind everyone that the reports that you saw at the admin level are also available at a teacher level. The only thing that changes is the amount of data that you have access to. So before we wrap up, I'm just going to show you from the teacher perspective a standards-based report, a student-based report, and a growth-based report. This math standards map is built upon the Achieve the Core coherence map, And it's really great at helping provide some guidance about how to respond to your standards data. So if I know that I need to remediate these 6 students on this standard, I can use the map to toggle to the left to see what first grade math skill came before that second grade standard. I can see an example of what it looks like at that level, and I can see content that's recommended for this standard. Thinking more about standards, this is one of our student level reports that gives you a breakdown based on individual standards in terms of how a student is doing on that particular skill. What's nice is you get a clearly color-coded breakdown of how that student is doing, and you can easily pull up the individual questions that that student answered that contributed to their standard performance. Really great for parent-teacher conferences. And finally, to wrap up, you're able to also access growth reports. This report's nice for teachers because you get a quick view by domain of how students are doing from one assignment to the next. Really good for a pre and post test. If I want to see this grouped by class, I can see that, my section 2 class is struggling a lot more than my section 1 class, and I can dive into why that's happening. I can look at performance over time. So again, I can see that distinction between my section 1 and my section 2, and I can look at individual student progress. Thank you for joining us for our actionable data overview on Edcite Schools. Like I said, it's really important to our team that all data is immediate, clear, and actionable, and is driving growth at every level.